Thank you so much for clicking play and joining me for this episode of She Got Next. I'm very excited to have my guest here today. Her name is Bianca Dawkins, and she's the Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx. Hey, Bianca, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I want to start really with just our interaction via email. When I invited you to the show, I mentioned that there's a through line with both of my work, having this show, She Got Next, and my brand strategy work. And that through line is storytelling. And I wrote to you that I create platforms for people to share their story. And your reply was that that statement truly resonated with you. And you said, it's the heart of the work I do too. And I would love to know more about that. Tell me about how storytelling or creating spaces for people to share their stories at the heart of what you do.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much. And again, yes, that question really did resonate with me. I grew up in an environment marked by hardship and honestly abuse at times. Experiences that, could have defined and limited me, but instead, they became the foundation of my purpose.
Hmm.
I know what it feels like to be unseen, unheard, and undervalued. And I just committed to my life, ensuring that others never have to feel that way in spaces where I have influence.
Hmm.
And so about a decade ago, I had founded an organization called Faces of Hope that was truly built on the foundation of using play therapy to support children who had experienced violence in their homes. That work has shown me the power of creating safe and affirming spaces, especially for those navigating trauma.
Hmm.
And yes, so today I am the Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx, where I lead initiatives that make the NBA and the WNBA more inclusive, equitable, and connected on and off the court, always centering the human experience.
Hmm.
And with my journey, being shaped by, other mentors as well that really believe and saw my potential, I'm able to continue to heal and also, use my leadership to coexist with others.
I think it's incredible that you started your own organization after going on and probably continuing to this day, like you said, a healing journey of your own. It speaks volumes of your character to have overcome or come through what you did in your childhood and not just heal and want to be in a place where you could be stable, but to then create opportunities for others to heal, to find support, to be seen, to find their voice, use their voice, all of those things that your organization has done. And then to now turn it into an opportunity to work with one of the biggest brands in the world. Because we went down this road early in the conversation, I want to go to a post that I saw that you put on LinkedIn and Instagram very recently. This is what you wrote. It starts with this: Dear young Bianca, you didn't deserve the things you went through, but one day you'd stand on NBA courts and on stages with global artists, making space for others to feel safe, seen, and celebrated.
Healing, it didn't happen overnight. And I alluded to that, in that post. Like, it was messy, it was not linear, and at times, honestly, exhausting. For years, I felt like I carried the weight of what I experienced growing up, right? Some of that abuse, instability, the feeling that I had to fight for my own worth, but also learning to survive, honestly, before I learned to thrive, which are two different things. I will say a turning point came when I realized that healing isn't all about, erasing the past. It's about reclaiming your power. And I always say that to a lot of my friends, family, coworkers, right? How are you leaning into your power? Because that's, what I was being taught. And there was different mediums that I learned to get through that, right? I sought out therapy, leaned on mentors, created spaces both for myself and others where safety, belonging, and self-expression could exist without question. But I also learned that healing isn't just personal, it's a collective thing. And so when I'm doing my work and when one person has the courage to share their story, it gives others the permission to do the same. And that's why I lead the way I do, with transparency, with empathy, with a deep commitment to creating, honestly, environments where people can show up fully without hiding parts of themselves to really fit in. And so I always go back to my healing journey because it truly has shaped the way in which I lead within this organization and in the community. I don't just talk about inclusion as a business metric. I know that it really is important to our organization, but I understand it also truly as a human need. And every initiative I lead, whether, as you just alluded to, whether it's our DEI strategy or community engagement or cultural programming, it really is rooted in the belief that when people feel safe and valued, they can thrive. And when they thrive, so do our organizations, so do our communities, and so just everybody as a whole. And so that's truly why I lean into that, because I truly believe it is my superpower.
You know what? I've been to Minneapolis a few times now. I have family that moved out there about 10 years ago. So I've come to, I was there for the Super Bowl in 2018. I didn't get to go to the Super Bowl, but I went to some surrounding events. And I've been back and attended a Lynx game, gone to a Timberwolves game. And it's just an incredible town of sports fans. You have such a legacy. I mean, the Lynx, it's banners on banners. There's so much history there. But it's also like, what you said, I feel like it's such an emotional place. Minneapolis is known for a number of things. It's the birthplace of Prince. It's the city of lakes. It's the home of the Mall of America. You've got a dope governor in Minnesota, in my opinion. You've got a dope governor. And you've got two professional basketball franchises that in 2016, after the violent death of Philandro Castile, and again in 2020, after the violent death of George Floyd, those two basketball franchises, they came together. They wore shirts, they linked arms, they went out in the community, made statements about their own personal feelings, how they were hurting, how they wanted to hear back, how they wanted to join forces with those, again, in the community to find solutions. And to me, that energy still exists. It still feels palpable. And I'm on the outside. Yes, I've visited a few times, and on the outside, I feel like those conversations have deepened, they have expanded. And you've been there now for nearly 4 years. And I wonder if it feels like that to you as well.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because, being with this sports organization, being able to see it from the inside out, I truly saw how a sports organization can build confidence in the city, right? Minneapolis is a city where sports aren't just entertainment. It literally is a cultural heartbeat. And so it's also a city that I felt has been at the center, just like you talked about, as some of the most significant conversations on racial justice, on social change, just in recent history. And that intersection between sports as a unifying force and social change as a moral imperative is honestly where I thrive and where I see others thrive. And so with me having a role in professional sports here, it like, honestly, to me, like, I'm so glad that it's more than just a game day excitement.
Yeah.
It's about using visibility, influence, and really reaching these platforms to address the hard truths, foster, courageous dialogue, and really pushing for equity. And so in a city that I love, that is still healing and rebuilding its sense of trust with, honestly, a lot of underserved communities, I see my role as building bridges, which one of my mentors, True Pettigrew, has always taught me is to be a bridge builder between communities and corporations, and between players and fans, between histories and possibilities. For me, I just take the game nights, the game experiences, as a way to celebrate, right? Every community partnership, every DEI initiative that I lead, which is really formed by the reality of the deep wounds that Minneapolis has, and honestly, the deep resilience. That word resilience keeps coming up to me around this city, just because of all the things that, we've gone through, and ensuring that, we're able to continue to build together, similar to how we, try to reflect that with our core is what we hope for. And so for me, thriving here means, not shying away from those complexities that you talk about. It just really means leaning into it, leveraging sports as a platform, honestly, for that connection, that healing, and, that meaningful change that we hope for.
Well, I appreciate you talking about the fact that you're not shying away from it. And I think as a whole, the city doesn't shy away from it. There are visible artifacts, there's signage, the things that call out the fact that these incredible global events, the eyes were all on Minneapolis during these in huge events that were happening. And it's not something, like you said, that you shy away from, that you're continuing to address, expand the conversation, and understand the value of a healed community and how sports can be used to have those big conversations, but invite diverse communities into the conversation. So it's moving things forward and not covering things up. Now, I think a lot of people who are, for whatever reason, opponents of DEI, they think it's just an emotional thing. And I went to, like I said, I went to a Lynx game in June, and it was Black Excellence Night. And I know that the Black ERG there, Black Elevation ERG, put that on, and it was dope, but it was more than just emotion, right? There's a history lesson being told in those moments as well. But thinking about DEI beyond just the emotion that we're trying, or that maybe you are trying to create and offer opportunity for people to tell their genuine stories, DEI also is a data-driven action and strategy. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes in it that informs the strategies that you make. And I read that you described your role in part in this way, that you're leveraging DEI analytics and managing initiatives that build internal and external connections. Can you share a little bit about how the analytics inform the strategies that you employ with the Timberwolves and the Lynx?
Yes, I love that. And like you said, like, DEI isn't only about, emotion or about ethical responsibility. It really truly is a clear business advantage. Our organization truly, we embrace, diverse leadership and inclusive practices consistently. And studies point to a causal relationship between workforce gender diversity and stronger financial performance, even measured by different companies. And so for me, it's super important that we can not only build diverse teams and inclusive teams, because those teams will clearly, their studies show, outperform, bring more revenue in, but also, just for me, the biggest thing is create that sense of belonging. And so how I continue to track it, even just internally, like, I want to know, like, is it improving retention? Is it improving morale, job satisfaction? Our employees are increasingly valuing our environment when we're saying, and showing that we're inclusive, not just talking it, but walking it, and honoring their well-being and reflecting their identities in the way in which we show up, the game nights that we have to celebrate, Black Excellence Night was just an example, but how do we go beyond the night and go and integrate celebrating them throughout the year is so important to me. And while empathy and emotional connection are still powerful motivators for DEI, the movement isn't sustained alone by feelings. And so we do have to show, right, business performance. We have to show team effectiveness. And again, improved, engagement and building trust. So I always like to say it's, where strategy meets the heart. And that's so important, because a lot of times, like, if you don't have, we see what happens when you don't have heart within strategy. Decisions are being made about people who aren't at the tables. And so again, like, I always like to think about this work, like, where strategy meets the heart. And that is super important for me.
I appreciate you saying that, because again, that's kind of like an effective way of storytelling. People need to be able to see themselves in the story that you're telling for them to want to give of themselves wholly and be able to add value to the bigger story that you're trying to tell. So I think it's incredible work that you're doing with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx. I have to say, I'm a big Nafisa Collier fan. I don't know how often you guys get to cross paths in the hallways, but as an insider, when is she coming back? When is she coming back? And is she winning the MVP this year? Tell us, give us the insight, Bianca.
I can't confirm or deny. I just hope for all the great things. She is the queen.
Yeah, she is the footwork. The footwork is what gets me. Yes. I'm wondering, like, going back to last season with the Lynx, and again, I know that you are in the front office, so it's very different than being there watching them practice or hearing what the coaches are doing. But I wonder internally, after that incredible series against the Liberty last year, what it felt like in the building to be so close to taking home the championship and then having that controversial ending to it. I wonder if the feelings that were happening on the court kind of trickle down or spread throughout the building, again, from the athletes down to the front office. What did that feel like for you guys? I've never been there. I'm clearly obsessed with what's going on in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a whirlwind of emotions. And that's what I think about, just like honestly, like throughout the season, like we on and off the court, right? We poured everything into our seasons. Our teams, business and basketball, always show resilience. And we honestly, like, you know, when you're constantly winning and pushing and being more competitive, like I saw us rally together in ways that went beyond the game itself, which is so electrifying. There's unity around the office. Like we all have this shared belief that we belong, right, in those finals, on having championships, and like just feeling that sense of like belonging to be a champion is so critical. And yeah, of course, like you have like pride right there, like and it can sting of being so close. But you can just feel again, you know, the camaraderie, the love that was there. And for me, like that is probably one of the biggest takeaways, just how stronger it made us. And I just love that so much. So yeah, it can be emotional. And I know myself, like even in any game when we're so close to winning, I just get very, very anxious. So sometimes I just have to like walk around the arena and just hope for a win. But again, you learn so much about the game, the resilience of our, you know, teams, and it's just so beautiful to see. And I've learned that a lot of what you see on the court, from the discipline to the teamwork, can be transferable to how we show up in business. And I've loved to be able to see those and reflect those and just even how I show up.
What a diplomatic way of putting it. That's why you're in the position that you are. I'm like, are you mad? Are you mad at the refs? Are you mad at New York Liberty? I mean, there is some passion, I know, from the women that are on the court. Like, we're coming back around. Our lick back is coming. We just there have been some folks that have been hurt. I know Nafisa's been out, Brianna Stewart's been out, so it hasn't been exactly the matchup that we saw last year. But I'm looking forward to what the Lynx continue to do on the court. And the Timberwolves had a good run in the playoffs. I wonder if you can predict. Again, I know you're in the front office. It's different than being in the court, but what are you predicting for the Timberwolves in this upcoming season?
I'm predicting all the winning and all of the excitement. Again, like that team is great. It's competitive. It has great chemistry. So I'm just really, really excited, again, just to see how we can support them off the court, because a lot of that does reflect, right, how we show up. And so just being however I can show up and support them, I'm just excited and ready. We're in a unique position to have not only an NBA team, but a WNBA team. And that's really exciting to have. And it brings just so much joy to me.
That's incredible. All right, let me ask you about your individual sports fandom. Now, I always ask people in the last 5 minutes or so, 5 questions. I got in my Lynx and Timberwolves kind of conversation, which is different than the last 5. But I want to ask you these about your own sports fandom. Do you remember playing sports as a young child? Or do you have a favorite sports memory that you remember back in the day that kind of spurred you being a fan of the now teams that you work for? Or any other team? I won't make it that you have to be a fan of the Timberwolves or the Lynx, but maybe there's a memory that's coming to your mind that was like, yeah, that stands out.
Yeah, I love that question because, you know, I didn't grow up playing organized sports. My love for sports truly did come later. Now, I did, you know, cheerlead, which was great. And I was on some competitive dance teams, which, you know, we do consider sports. But when I started to think about, you know, actually learning the stats and some of the technical breakdowns and just really being immersed within the electrifying, honestly, roars of the arena, right? Like I'm a part of that now. And it's so great, right? You from just standing in silence for the national anthem, and then the way, you know, when we do and get to playoffs, the city lights up in our team colors. Like that for me is exciting. One of the moments I knew that sports was such a bridge builder and a connector to community, I never forget when I first started working for the Timberwolves. I was in a grocery store and I was wearing some of the gear, And literally, I probably spoke to like 6 people in a grocery store just about the Timberwolves based upon what I was wearing. And I was like, wow, like just from wearing the gear and, being a part of this like brand and this team really is a way to connect with people, even people you may not think you have any sort of, similarities to. And I was like, wow, this is great. Like this truly is a conversation starter. It truly is a connector. And when I started to see that when I was outside of these walls of this organization, I really, really was even bought in more. And I was like, yeah, we can continue to build the confidence of our city and bring people together.
It's definitely a vibe. I like how the Timberwolves, like the fans in the audience, don't sit until a basket is made. I think the Lynx do the same thing. And then when the Lynx win, it's electric slide time. They're like, it's not going to get old. We're going to do it every time. And I like when you come together and you can expect that kind of celebration. That's a great story. I love that. Yeah, I think when I travel anywhere across the country, if I see somebody with a Yankees hat, I'm immediately like, yes,
exactly.
we do. It's community building. Now, I always ask people if there are particular people or a person you've mentioned that you've had mentors before, anybody that you'd like to shout out as someone who's really influenced and supported your journey in sports to the position that you're in now. Who do you want to shine a light on?
I'm going to shine a light on my first true sports mentor, true pedigree. So he is the former chief diversity officer and chief impact officer for the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lynx. When I came into the organization, he honestly took me under his wing and literally gave me a level of not only mentorship, but sponsorship, guidance that, I hadn't really got in my career. And it was done in such a unselfish, empowering way that he said, I want you at these tables alongside of me. I want to, you won't be able to learn without being in it.
Yeah.
The first time I never felt like anyone kept anything away from me. Mm-hmm. And I saw the power by watching him that, we don't take from ourselves by giving to others. We actually elevate everyone. And so when I saw those selfish acts and I was like, wait, he's being so unselfish. Like I seen selfish acts during my career and I was like, this dude is being unselfish, right? He's like really wanting me to lean into what the potential that he saw. And I quickly understood that like, it's so important to put yourself around people who want more for you than from you. And he was literally that person who wanted more for not only me, but everyone around him. And so I was just really grateful that, I was under the leadership of him for about 2 years and it was a game changer in my career. So that shout out to you, True. Shout out to you.
Talk to me about how you're now paying it forward. How are you creating space for the next woman in the industry of sports?
Yeah, I love that question. So for me, the way I'm creating is honestly through mentorship, extending my ladder, making sure that people have the opportunity to be exposed, ask questions, come and shadow me, come stop by the office, hear my story, hear how I got into sports. So that is a way that I am also doing it. I think conversations like these are important too, right? Being willing to sit down and say, hey, I want to really share, that my journey wasn't always, it didn't go from A to B. It wasn't a linear thing, and that you can also have the opportunity to do it. And so I fight to stay active in teaching others and being willing again to extend my ladder, because I recognize that, I've been in spaces where people operate in scarcity, right? And like for me, I've always been an abundant thinker, no matter the challenges that I've been through, because I know that there is more than enough in this world for all of us. And I continue to lean into that because I want people to know that like there's space for you, and what's for you is for you. And if you have women like us who are creating these platforms for the ones coming behind us to learn and to see themselves, like that's all I want to do. I want to show you that you have the potential. I want to inspire you that you can be whatever you want to be, and that you could do probably greater things than I could probably do. I want to inspire people to do that. And so that's how I do it. Like and you started this conversation around storytelling. I truly believe storytelling does heal others and ourselves, right? I think every time we share a story, it's a level a layer of burden coming off of us and allowing us to be more transparent, allowing us to speak more, abundance and healing into our environment. So that's how I do it. And it probably is storytelling. That's probably the key, right? Telling my story and showing that you can overcome things and you can be around great people.
Well, you have been an inspiration just in this quick conversation that we've had. I am with you on the power of storytelling. I've dedicated my career to it. You've clearly dedicated your career to it, creating space for people to tell the truth. And the power of truth telling, again, is, I agree with you. It's not only healing for yourself to let it out of your body, it is giving permission for your audience of 1 or 1,000 to be real and share the realities of their experience, expand their belief of what's possible, and to do that together, again, for the next generation that is listening to all of these stories. Thank you so much for your time today, Bianca. Thank you for telling the truth about your story on this show, on all of your platforms. I can't wait to get back to Minnesota. I'm excited about Nafisa getting healed and coming back to the game. I hope to see you soon, and good luck with everything that you're building moving forward.
Thank to you, and I love this platform. She got next.
Yes. Love it. And thank you so much for watching, either on YouTube, listening on Spotify, or following along on LinkedIn and Instagram. Please be sure to subscribe and share the show with everybody you've met in your entire life. Until next time.